And we are live, everybody. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Monday, October 27th. I am Josh Engleman, and I am here to break down a 9-game NBA slate for today. We're split up a little bit. There's 2 late games as well. We've got Orlando in Philadelphia taking on a very thin Philadelphia 76ers team. Cleveland at Detroit. Brooklyn at Houston. That one's going to be rough. The line in that one is 15 last I looked. I'll have to take a look at that one again. Atlanta at Chicago. Boston at New Orleans. Toronto and San Antonio. OKC and Dallas. Phoenix and Utah. Denver and Minnesota. Minnesota likely without Anthony Edwards today. We got a lot to break down over the course of the next hour. Lots to talk about. We're going to look at sims. We're going to build some individual lineups, and we'll touch on all of the teams that are going to be playing today on the main. First and foremost, everybody, you got to be hitting that like button. Massively helpful for us. I don't want to bury the lead here. All right? So we're just going to jump into it right out of the gate. You guys see the screen right now, right? Some Stokastic screenshots from the course of the weekend, but peep the one that's above my head. Do you see it? You see where I'm going with this? BS Golfer 7. That is the handle you see. You also see a Stokastic avatar. You also see $1 million under that name. We grabbed another millie, folks. We grabbed another millie. It's so exciting to see. It feels like we do this pretty regularly, but it's always great to see a Stokastic avatar at the top. Not the only winner yesterday. Obviously, you guys can see some of the other screenshots from across the day, but we picked up the millie winner. You guys should be here, subscribed at Stokastic. We can go about this 2 different ways. 1, 20% off using the promo code OKC gets you an NBA package or an all-access package that covers every sport for a month for 20% off. That link's in the description. That code ends tomorrow. So if you were planning on getting in, especially if you're thinking about it for today, Monday Night Football tonight, an all-access package covers Monday Night Football and the NBA. If that's not your cup of tea, there are links in the description that you can sign up through one of our partners, either a pick'em site or a sportsbook. You're going to get something from them. You'll pay us nothing, and you'll get a month of The Sims for free. However you want to get in here, you should do it. Because if you do, you got a much better chance of being the millie winner than if you didn't get in here at Stokastic.com. Very simple. Very simple. Let's pull up some sims, folks. Let's see what the Stokastic sims are spitting out to start the day. What's up, Crispy? Good to see you. So I'm just going to do a very simple 5,000 lineup pool. Sims are up on the screen right now. This is what you would get if you signed up using those codes that I just talked about. This Minnesota team is going to be interesting today. And somebody from Orlando is going to be awesome. I just wish I knew who that could possibly be. Unsurprising, we see Dante DiVincenzo at the top of the pool exposure to start the morning. And that's because he's just going to have to do more with the assumption that Anthony Edwards is not going to be a part of this one today. Matas Buzelis getting a bunch of ownership. Victor Wembanyama getting a bunch of ownership. I don't know if you guys are surprised to see that one. The dueling centers, Adem Bona and Andre Drummond, are both 25 to 30 to start the day. Now, obviously, this stuff is ripe to move around. Mike Conley is one of the bigger value options on the day because of this potential Anthony Edwards information. So we got a lot of value out here. Josh Giddey's questionable. Lots of tricky stuff. Let's see where we're at to start. Let's just get an idea of who's in the top 150 as we start today off. And then we'll just bounce into some of these games, just take a look at them, get an idea of where we stand, set the table for whatever sort of injury news we have to get for the rest of the day. I don't want to try to make any sweeping generalizations on a day like today. We got a lot of teams on a back-to-back. It's early in the season. I don't think there's any benefit to us for making any conclusions at 9:07 on a Monday. Dirty O says free Dillingham. Yeah, I don't know. He's nothing. All right. Top 150 lineups in the Sims to start the day. Biggest stands: Andre Drummond, Dylan Harper. Those two are the biggies. Drummond in 25% of the pool, 75% of our lineups. Dylan Harper, 17% of the pool in 55% of our lineups. We also 2x Jokic. We still get over on Wemby. So with all the value that we have, we're still able to get over the field on Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama here. And Zion to a degree at 9,600. That Pelicans game is a weird one for me and all of the data that I look at. We're also seeing, this is a name I didn't expect to see getting any sort of run in October in the NBA. Not necessarily, this could have been China. Bones Highland, 14% owned. For those of you that don't know, Bones Highland is on the Timberwolves. So he's going to benefit from Anthony Edwards potentially being out. Bones Highland showing up as some value at a $3,100 price tag. Who are we not getting to start the day? Adem Bona. So at least in the Stokastic projections right now, the lean is Drummond over Bona. Don't write that down in pen. That's not how this works. We did come in a little bit under on Dante DiVincenzo as well, but 55% owned, 44% exposure. There's nothing to really take away there. He's the first name you're clicking in a cash game, at least as of right now. After that, we don't have any major negatives here. It's a lot more about the positives. And it's Drummond and Harper for some reason, which, all right, let's take a look at it. Let's hop over to neither of those. Let's take a look at the boom bust tool at stokastic.com. And let's look at both of those guys to start. So I'm going to filter down to Philly. We'll make that a little bit bigger for everybody. There we go. So we got Philly in here right now. And this is a conversation point between Andre Drummond and Adem Bona. Assuming Bona starts, but realistically, those guys are going to play most of the center minutes. And I want to touch on one other thing quickly. Yeah, that'll be fine. Because if we take a look at Philly, there's a reason this is kind of gnarly today. Dominic Barlow, out. Jared McCain, out. Joel Embiid, out. Paul George, out. Trendon Watford, out. So no Embiid in this one. Dominic Barlow had been starting at the 4. No Dominic Barlow here either. It's starting to get a little thin for these guys. Can I keep that over there and stretch this? That actually works for me. So we have all these injuries right now. And then we got to figure out this center spot. Drummond is 4,300. Adem Bona, 3,800. Now, we have Drummond projected for more fantasy points by a few. Not surprised. I do think Andre Drummond is better than Adem Bona. We've got similar ownership going to both, but look at the difference in optimal rate for right now. It's 42 to 20. And that's what's causing Drummond to disproportionately show up in this first run of Sims. My expectation is that this will calibrate itself as the day goes on, as more information comes into the betting markets, stuff like that. But you do just want to pay attention here to the relationship in ownership here and the relationship these guys have to their optimal rate. Jose Morales says, do I think it's an even split between Bona and Drummond? Largely, yes. If we go ahead and pull up the projections page for Stokastic, I'll show you the minutes breakdown here. So right now we have Andre Drummond in for 24 minutes. We have Adem Bona in for 24 minutes. Realistically, those guys can be anywhere between like 18 and 28. And their total probably doesn't have to total 48. They could pretty easily go to like Jabari Walker or Broom for a couple minutes. So it's going to be in and around that area. But it does create a lot of good value for Drummond and for Bona. Not so sure it creates much else. This is one thing that I wanted to show you guys that I think is pretty cool. So what I have here, this automatically plots out the rotation. So like, oh, I can go even bigger. Cool. That's fun. So you can see how these guys line up. But that's that potential starting lineup of Maxey, Edgecombe, Edwards, Oubre, Bona, using dunks and threes, EPM, that projects as a negative 6.2 lineup. It's really bad. And as you can see, like, it's going to get worse in certain situations. But you can see how guys come in and off of the floor and the integrations with like how they play with each other. This would be the end of the first quarter. Kyle Lowry, Edgecombe, Edwards, Walker, Drummond, negative 8.5. It gets ugly when you start looking at some of these teams. Wait till you see some of these negatives on like the true trash of the league. But the way that I'm looking at this right now, I actually bet Orlando last night at minus 3.5. Lines up to 4.5 now. Always love to see it. But yeah, that's what Philly is looking at right now from a value perspective. And I think that'll be pretty important to figure out how we want to handle that center spot. Because the relationship between Drummond and Bona will be really big. Because if you want to pay up today, Nikola Jokic is 11,500, center only. Victor Wembanyama is 11K, center only. And yet we're getting this value from Drummond and Bona, both center only. What does that end up doing for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Davis, who can be played at the power forward spot? That sort of helps. And then you get this sea of point guards. This 9K point guard range is nuts today. Cade, 9,800. I mentioned SGA. Maxey, 93. Trae Young, 92. Booker, 89. Giddey, 87 if he plays. A lot of different point guard choices in and around that range as well. Yeah, Mitchell. Barlow is hurt. Why does the Clippers-Warriors game start at 11 p.m. Eastern tomorrow? I don't know, but it's very annoying. It's very annoying. All right, I'm just going to hop through each one of these teams in the Boom Bust tool before we look at some more sim stuff, just to get an idea of where the ownership is to start the day. So we'll start with Atlanta. And let me just get schedule in front of me here. Actually, we'll start with Orlando and Philly, or I guess technically speaking, Orlando. And let's just take a peek at this game by game. 30% ownership to Bona, 28 to Drummond, 13 to Paolo, about 10 for Maxey and Edgecombe. Nothing really for anybody else here. I have a little bit of interest in Desmond Bane today. I like this spot for him in this matchup. He's shooting guard, small forward eligible, 7K. I'm more interested in Desmond Bane today than I am VJ Edgecombe. I think VJ Edgecombe is going to have a real unfun time against this Orlando defense. He doesn't know what he's about to get today. This will be the best defensive team he's ever seen. It's going to be tricky for him. I like Bane, but there's no love going to Franz. There's obviously Suggs is sort of out of play right now. Banchero's getting a little bit of love, but nothing crazy. I like the Orlando side here. There's not too much else popping up. We've got pretty positive leverage on Justin Edwards right now at 3,300. That's probably the name you want to keep an eye on throughout the day. Given the amount of injuries we have right now for Philly, $3,300 for Edwards. Interesting value that isn't at the center spot. Edgecombe's going to light up Orlando. Kid is the truth. I mean, look, I like him a lot, but he's still just a young guard in the NBA and will stink for most of this season. And now he's got a date with one of the better defensive teams in the league with no help around him. He's gonna end up getting a lot of really bad looks today. Let's see here now. Bulls G's did fine versus Orlando. Yeah, sure. Orlando is 6th in defensive rating, guys. 6th. They've allowed the 6th least amount of points. Let's pump the brakes. Okay? We got to stop looking at raw point totals. Where is it? The Chicago Bulls scored 102.8 points per 100 possessions against Orlando. That's an 8th percentile outcome. We're going to tell me that the Orlando offense hasn't been any good? Cool. It's not the defense. It's not the defense. All right, let's get out of Philly and Orlando. Let's look at Cleveland and Detroit. Obviously, Cleveland is a bit wounded. We know that Darius Garland isn't here. Max Strus isn't here. DeAndre Hunter has been in and out. There's no real ownership coming in to this game. 9% to Asar Thompson is the most of anybody. 6% optimal to Asar Thompson is the most of anybody. This is a game where if you want to go here, just focus on the guys that play. Asar, Mobley, Cade, Tobias Harris, Jared Allen. It's probably where I'm going to draw the line here. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Duren. Like, Donovan Mitchell is 0.5% owned, 0.25% optimal today at 9,400. Cade is 5% of both. So, do I want any sort of real volume here? No, I don't think so. It's not that kind of game. Like, to me, the guys that are in this game, the guys that I just listed off, they're the guys you get to pivot out of like a chalky lineup. Like, you build your lineup, it looks kind of cashy, heavy ownership. So you take Josh Giddey, who's 25% owned, and you turn him into Donovan Mitchell, who's 1. I don't know. It's not a game I anticipate having a ton of. Doesn't strike me as that kind of matchup. Next game up, because we're going to move quick here. Brooklyn, Houston. I mean, this is going to be a really disgusting game. I don't know how Brooklyn scores here, because they're to me, they're the worst offense in basketball. And this monstrosity of human beings in Houston, Brooklyn's just never going to have any daylight. The highest owned Brooklyn guy is Zaire Williams at 4%. Now, there's no ownership coming into Houston either. Amen Thompson's at 8.5. Part of me wanted him to be like completely unowned today, because I think his just style is going to cause problems for Brooklyn. I like Amen Thompson today. He's already 8% owned and the biggest negative leverage play we have, but he is the guy that stands out most to me. Like, Şengün's going to eat against Brooklyn, but he might play 26 minutes because this one is just over immediately. Houston's massive favorites. Brooklyn's terrible. Like, it's hard to have interest in like Jabari or Steven Adams or Tari, like any of those guys, because it just doesn't strike me as that matchup. I kind of like Amen Thompson, and I expect Alperen Şengün to be incredibly efficient in this spot. I just don't know if he could pay off 9,500 in this matchup when it's so unnecessary for him. I don't think that's what it is today. Do you guys like anything here for Houston? I can't imagine you guys are interested in anything on the Brooklyn side. This is a spot where like I anticipate having next to nothing in this one, much like that Cleveland-Detroit game. Little bit of Amen Thompson, and if I get Şengün, I'm stoked. I just don't think it's going to happen all that frequently. Atlanta and Chicago. KD revenge game. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be worried about getting up for that one. So this Atlanta-Chicago game, for the most part, I'm not even going to touch on anything here. I'm going to touch on what we have to wait on. Jalen Johnson, questionable. Kristaps Porzingis, questionable. Zachary Risachet, questionable. There's no way to talk about Atlanta when 3 of their starters are up in the air today. If one is out, the other guys look better. If 2 are out, everybody looks better. If they're all in, we probably don't get much of Atlanta, you know? So we need that information. It's not just there, though. Josh Giddey, also questionable for today. They already don't have Kobe White. They already don't have Zach Collins. But if Josh Giddey's not there, that changes the entire scope of the Chicago offense. So while we have these guys in the projections right now, and we're showing Matas Buzelis get a ton of ownership, Giddey and Trey Jones are both 20% owned, Vooch and Kevin Huerter are both getting some love. We don't know what this is yet. And it's very important to find out because there could be a ton of value on Atlanta. There could be no value on Atlanta. If Josh Giddey plays, I'm a lot less interested in Josh Giddey. I'm a lot less interested in a 20% owned Trey Jones on a 9-game slate. All of this needs to shake out. It's an early game-ish. We should expect to have most of this information, or at least I hope that we do. But in terms of making decisions here, Atlanta's just a straight, I can't pay attention to this until we know more. You can't have 3 starters questionable. For Chicago, there's a lot to like. Buzelis is just going to be out there. He's 5,300. I like that value for today, particularly at a position that we haven't really talked about. If Giddey's in, he looks good. If Trey Jones, even if Trey Jones is just starting alongside Giddey, he looks like a good point per dollar play. $8,100 Vooch is fine. Kevin Huerter's got great flexibility between guard and forward spots. That's fine. But we need to hash this out. Because this can go a bunch of different ways. Keep that news in mind. And we're at the midway point. Let's hit that like button if we haven't done it yet. Let me hit you guys with the schedule for the rest of the day. It's a big one. It's a very big one. Alrighty, schedule. Obviously, I'm live right now for the NBA Strategy Show, which you could watch on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. NFL Strategy Show, Laffy and Greg, they're going to be breaking down Monday Night Football in 30 minutes, immediately after me. Same channel. No deeper dive tonight because of NFL, so you're going to get myself and Eric on NBA Live Before Lock at 6 o'clock. And then you're going to get Laffy and Spags NFL Live Before Lock, 7:15, celebrating some Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football perfect lineup will be out in a bit, and we are going to record some lineup builds a little bit later. Next game, let's keep this train moving so we can touch on everything you guys need to know for today's slate. Boston and New Orleans. This is a weird game for me. Very, very, very weird game for me. So let's sort that out. Let's take a look at the boom bust tool. Boston not off to the greatest start. No one is getting any love here. 9% ownership to Zion is the most we've got. A couple scattered percentage points for Jaylen Brown, Sadiq Bey, Derek White. I like this game a little bit more than the ownership is showing, but we do have some things that we're going to need to wait on. In particular, Yves Missi, questionable. Carlo Makovich, questionable. Obviously, we don't have DeJounte Murray. Still no Kevon Looney. So there's some rotational quirks to go around in New Orleans for right now. Best game on the slate, Boston, New Orleans. No. Mitchell Mayo, Pelicans money line. Probably. But this is a weird game for me in general. Boston's just stretched. Jaylen Brown should be the second best guy on a team. He has to be the first. Derek White should be the third best guy on a team. He needs to be the second. Peyton Pritchard should be the sixth best guy on a team. He kind of needs to be the third. And after that, we start just saying names of guys that aren't that interesting. So I don't have a ton of interest here. I love Derek White. He's 8K. His price did go up like I thought it would. Jaylen Brown's probably going to be up north of 8,500 soon. So, like, in a way, you're getting the value now. If we're going to something here, we're going to be going to the Pelicans side, and we're going to be doing that once we know their center status, because that could make a $9,600 Zion more interesting. It certainly would make Sadiq Bey at 4,600 more interesting if we need a little bit more value. And then it makes a $4,500 Derek Queen a little bit more interesting. But we've already got two versions of Derek Queen on the Sixers right now. And none of those guys are Victor Wembanyama or Nikola Jokic. Alrighty. Next one up. Toronto and San Antonio. Now, this one I've got some takes for. Now, from a DFS side, I love Wemby because he's Wemby. And I just think this guy is one of the three best players on the planet. So if I can get 11K to get Wemby, I want to. And right now he's 35% owned and 38% optimal. So seems pretty easy. We have to pay attention to some injury news for San Antonio. Doesn't seem like we're going to have Luke Cornett today. Probably doesn't matter too much for the rest of the rotation, but keep that in mind. We do have Dylan Harper getting 17% ownership right now and 32% optimal. I just want to say this, that's not going to keep. Both of those numbers will come closer to each other in some way. Either optimal drops closer to ownership or vice versa, but that gap will fix itself in some way. He's either going to be way more popular or we're going to bring him down a hair, would be my expectation. That kind of gap doesn't typically stick around. That's what happens at 9:30 in the morning. Got a little bit of love coming into Brandon Ingram at 7,200. I like Toronto here from a game standpoint. Like, the Spurs are the favorites, and obviously Victor Wembanyama is the best player in this game. But I think you draft Raptors like 5 picks in a row after that. Because obviously Wemby goes 1. But if I'm just taking NBA talent right now, I'm taking Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickley, Scotty Barnes. I'm probably taking RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl before I take anybody else on the Spurs. I don't like the Raptors. I don't like the way their pieces fit together. I think it's a really weird team. Okay? They're better than the Spurs. Unless Wemby is just the cheatest of all cheatest codes. I bet the Raptors already. I took the points and I bet them money line. I don't agree with the line today. That said, Victor Wembanyama can just go out there and have 50, 10, 10, and 10, and I'll look dumb as hell. Is Wemby popular on FanDuel? Good question. Victor Wembanyama is 25% owned on FanDuel. One of the higher guys, somewhere in that top 10. DiVincenzo, Reeves, Maxey, Edgecombe, and Randall are the highest there. So I like the Toronto Raptors in this game. I like Victor Wembanyama and Dylan Harper as just straight up DFS plays. But unfortunately, I bet on a team I don't enjoy. OKC and Dallas. Now, OKC is super walking wounded right now. Not that Dallas is like fresh as a daisy, but there's a lot of injuries for the Thunder right now. No Caruso, Joe, J-Dub, Kenrich Williams, Nikola Topic, or Thomas Sorber. So that is a pretty thin rotation. That said, they're still the best team on the planet. But they're a team that's not owned. Now, I don't love the spot against Dallas. This is a team that is much more defensive than offensive. So it's not a great spot. Aaron Wiggins is 4,800. That price is about right. He's 6% owned. AJ Mitchell's 4,900. Not a lot of meat left on that bone either. I kind of like these guys as like 2x pay up to be contrarian guys for AD or for SGA. If Shea's 6, if AD's 9, and we have this value at center today, then I could use AD at power forward or Shea at one of those guard spots. And then I'm not taking on as much ownership from somewhere, and I'm paying up for someone with a legitimate ceiling. Those are 35% boom rates on AD and SGA. I'm interested in those guys at that ownership. I like them as GPP plays. And then depending on how you feel, 4,900 for D'Angelo Russell. Your guess is as good as mine how many minutes this dude plays. So do you know who's starting Herder or Io? Neither. It would be my expectation. Oh, you mean if Giddey is out? I mean, I would start Kevin Herder in that scenario, but not sure. Play AD, play SGA as ownership pivots in large field contests. That's the summary. What do we got? 2 to go? Suns. Yeah, Suns, Utah. I mean, these two teams are awful. Awful. Q-tag Dylan Brooks for today. Obviously, Jalen Green is still out. Utah appears to be at full strength for today, outside of the guys that have already been out, like Niang and Collier and Oscar Tshiebwe. But I mean, these two teams stink. They stink. But Royce O'Neal is pulling a bunch of value. 33% owned, 30% optimal, 4,400, small forward, power forward, gets real minutes. Love the flexibility. He's going to be important as a value play today. And then you get this crop of 3 dudes from Phoenix and Devin Booker and Colin Gillespie and Dylan Brooks. Negative leverage. Colin Gillespie, one of the bigger negative leverage options. On the other hand, Keontae George, 5% owned, 10% optimal, one of the bigger positive leverage plays. If I want to go somewhere here, I'm obviously going to pick Royce O'Neal first. Keontae George as an ownership pivot in GPPs. I mean, there's a case to be made. Utah's better than Phoenix. You're going to get a little bit of Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen right now while they're playing. 5% owned against the Suns. A Suns team trotting out Oso Ighodaro and Nick Richards, maybe Mark Williams, maybe Malawach. Like, none of them are any good. Interesting spot for Utah today. And with nobody more than 6% owned, sneaky late swap team. Sneaky late swap team. Final game on the DraftKings slate that we could touch on so everybody understands what we got going on. 9:30 start, massive news. Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves. It doesn't seem like we're going to have Anthony Edwards today, and that is creating a lot of havoc. Dante DiVincenzo, 50+% owned. It's the number one play of the day right now. Assuming we don't have Edwards, real difficult to not want to slot Dante DiVincenzo in as one of the best plays of the day. I think that also unlocks Mike Conley for value. 3,500, 30% owned, close to 30% optimal. It's going to take a couple extra minutes today just to flesh out the rest of this rotation. Julius Randle sees a massive bump by not having Ant out there. It's not like the usage is going to go to Rudy Gobert. Julius Randle's the next man up here. I could see a usage bump for Jaden McDaniels as well. Bones Highland at 3,100 becomes a pay down option that's not at center, that helps you get to your Wembys and your Jokic's. Speaking of Jokic, 11,500, 16% owned, 22% optimal. One of the best positive leverage plays we see right now. If you can get a sub 20% owned Jokic today in a matchup they're much more likely to win, sans Ant, yeah, that's not making the Minnesota defense any better. Love DiVincenzo, love Conley, love Randall, love Jokic. I want to have a lot of this game. Even if I don't end up with it in the end, I want to have it so that I can have better late swap opportunities through each step of this slate. So the more I have at lock, the easier it's going to be to move myself into better stuff throughout it. It's a fun slate. Let's build some lineups. Alrighty. Let's get them built. So we're going to build. We're going to get this started. We're going to head to the boom bust tool, unlock everybody. I want to see everything. We want 5 guys, 1 for each position. We want Dante DiVincenzo. We want... Ooh, this is going to be interesting. All right, we're going to put Dante DiVincenzo in at point guard. We're going to put Dylan Harper in at shooting guard. We're going to put Royce O'Neal in at small forward. We're going to put Matas Buzelis in at power forward, and I'm going to go to Nikola Jokic at center. Perfect. So those guys are in. We've got them in right now. What we're going to do is what I call the starting 5. These are sort of my 5 favorite plays for today with the way the slate looks right now. Dante DiVincenzo, Dylan Harper, Royce O'Neal, Matas Buzelis, Nikola Jokic for a little bit lighter ownership. Leaves us $18,500 remaining to fill out guard, forward, and utility. So we got about $6K left for each individual spot. But we can fill those spots in so many different ways. And that's going to be the point of this. Think of the perfect lineup, but for basketball. So what we want to do first, we've locked these guys in. Let's see what the optimal lineup looks like around them. We've got no randomness applied. This is just going to take the 3 best plays available to build out the rest of this lineup. I'll click complete this lineup to check it out. It ends up giving us Josh Giddey, Andre Drummond, and Jaden McDaniels. So that is the first trio that we're going to look at. But we want to look at some other 3v3s as well. Let's first run this simulation to know what our optimal baseline is, because now we know how we want to work around projection and ownership. That's a pretty decent start to the starting 5. My 5 guys plus the 3 optimal plays around them. 138 sim ROI, 0.4% chance to win, 48% cash rate. Amazing start. I'm going to clone this lineup. So we're in the single lineup sim. I want to save that so we don't lose that data. I'm going to copy that lineup and we're going to hop into it again. We're going to clear it so that we get rid of Harper, or we get rid of those 3 random guys. And what I'm going to do is set this to 10% randomness. And now we're going to see, do we get a different set of 3 guys? Now, obviously, we could get the same 3. If we do, we'll randomize it again. So as you can see, we got the same set. That's just what randomness is. Sometimes those guys will randomly be the same 3. They probably look pretty good. Now we've changed it up a little bit. We had our 3v3 before. Now it's Mike Conley. It's still Andre Drummond, but now it's Anthony Davis. And we've got this double pay up set up. So if we go back and look at the original lineup, we're giving up 3.5 points in fantasy points, but we're barely gaining any ownership. It's only 2% difference. Lineup number 2 is going to be significantly worse than lineup number 1 because we gave up too many of our fantasy points. 94 sim ROI. It's still a great structure, but we didn't gain enough in ownership to improve the lineup. So I'm not all that concerned with this one. We're going to throw it in the trash. We're going to generate it again. Giddy Drummond McDaniels again. I'm going to bump it to 15% randomness. I think we need more of a wiggle here. Trey Jones, Andre Drummond, and Paolo Banchero. Okay? Now we're down 4.5 fantasy points from 283 to 278.5, but we've dropped 7 ownership points. A little bit more than that second lineup. We've got $900 left on the table, and I think that's the biggest problem for us right now. The range we have left isn't all that appealing. 63% sim ROI. So what I want to do now, we know what we want. I don't want to randomize it. I'm going to build what I think can be the best option that fits into these remaining spots. So let's clear this and let's fill out the rest of this lineup the best way that we can. Not necessarily optimal, but accounting for ownership. So the first thing I'm going to do is just simply sort by value and figure out where can we get cheap points that is already a little different than what the public's doing. Like we saw Mike Conley show up before, but the difference in value between Bones Highland and Mike Conley isn't all that bad on a point per dollar basis, but it does cut ownership in half. Those are the kind of things we're looking for. Similarly, the value proposition between Justin Edwards and Mike Conley isn't massive. It's like a full point, but it's also 10x value or 10x ownership. So my guess is that I end up giving it too many points when I pick Justin Edwards here. But if I lock Justin Edwards, what I want to see is who's optimal around him, because we have 7,600 left. It ends up being Conley and Wemby, which still allows us to get a double pay up. 280.7 projection, 236 ownership. See, that's our problem. That Wemby piece is going to take on too much ownership. He's 35% owned. So what happens if instead of Wemby, we end up going to Zion? All right, so I got to move Jokic to center proper. Which allows me to get to Zion. And now we fill out optimally with Trey Jones. Now look at the difference in ownership. Did we give up a lot of fantasy points? Yes, we gave up a lot of fantasy points. Too many probably, but we did give up 35 points in ownership. The context for this one will be interesting because this is a different structure, but we probably gave up too much. Basketball is different than football. See, 35% ROI. I think what we found out pretty quickly was that the best thing we could do was the first thing that we did. The optimal lineup around the starting five is the lineup we want. 100 plus sim ROI. This is the starting five. This is how I want everybody to think about building lineups. Find your guys. Find your 4-man core, your 5-man core, whatever you're trying to build around. And then you work through the single lineup sim to tweak your exposures to see, does this 3v3 work? Does that 3v3 work? Maybe I need 4 guys from my core in this one instead of 5 so that I can make the rest of this lineup work. But you can start with what you want. I think you guys should start with my starting 5. What do you guys think, man? That's some fun lineups to build. Now, obviously, everything here is going to change, but Dylan Harper, Royce O'Neal, Buzelis, DiVincenzo, Jokic, it's very easy to build multiple highly positive sim ROI lineups around that core and still be very, very unique. We got a couple minutes left before we turn this one over to the NFL team so they can break down Monday Night Football. I got to remind you guys one last time, OKC is the promo code. The link is in the description of this video. This promo goes away tomorrow. Get in now. Play Monday Night Football using the All Access package. Click the link, sign up, get yourself 20% off. We barely do All Access deals. So if you're trying to come in, 20% off an All Access package is right here for you, promo code OKC. Reminder, we've got the active Millie winner from DraftKings this week. That is not our first Millie winner this year, folks. On the NFL side, shout out to Morgan. The screenshots speak for themselves. You guys can see some of them from this past weekend on the screen right now, but that one on the left, 7 figures. Attach the Stokastic avatar, and you can be that screenshot. All right, guys, questions. Best straight 3K forward play. I mean, my guess is nobody. The highest optimal 3K anything we have is Josh Minot. And that's still a no. So, I don't see it. I don't see it. I like this slate, though, guys. I do. But we got a lot of news to wait for. So many back-to-backs change up everything. And don't forget about the start times. A couple 7s, a bunch of 8s, 8:30, 9:30. That 8 o'clock window is going to be huge. We're going to get a lot of news at 7:30. You don't want to miss it. You're going to be building NFL lineups for Monday Night Football, and that is just going to come out of the gate like crazy. Anything else you guys want me to hit on before we get out of here? I like this slate quite a bit, but like I said, injury news is paramount for today. There's so much of it. We still don't have a Cavs injury report. We don't have Detroit. We already got a ton of guys out. Q-Tag Johnson, Porzingis, Risache, Giddey. We don't have a Nets report. We don't have the Celtics. We don't have the Raptors. We don't have the Spurs. Chet Holmgren's questionable today. The Thunder are already missing 6 dudes. No Dallas injury report yet. Phoenix, we don't know about Dylan Brooks. Minnesota, no injury report yet. Very important for Anthony Edwards. All of that is going to get figured out throughout the rest of the day today, folks. I'm going to be posting bets, projections, DFS takes. If we get news during the day and I see it, I will update and post immediately. So follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Follow me on Tails and follow the rest of the crew on Tails. If you're looking for bets, pick'em slips, whatever, Tails is the spot. Links in the description. Totally free. You don't have to subscribe to anybody. You can follow anybody for no cost and get everything in the free picks page. Good luck, everybody. Another fun one. We're not going anywhere. The NBA is here. I'll see you Monday through Friday, every morning, 9 a.m. Later, everybody.